Welcome on board Sweden's newest high-speed train, the SJ3000. I'll be traveling in style from the Norwegian capital of Oslo all the way to Stockholm in the cozy first-class cabin on this 6-hour journey across Scandinavia. Along the way, I'll show you the lovely scenery, surprisingly good onboard meals, and show you a few design choices that maybe weren't so well thought out. So come along as we speed across the Nordic landscape at 200 km an hour on board one of Sweden's fastest trains. Our journey begins at Oslo Central Station, right in the heart of the city. The station technically opened just 38 years ago in 1987, but that's really only telling half of the story. Right next to the modern entrance, you'll find the former Oslo Eastern Railway Station, which goes back all the way to 1854. Nowadays, this historic part of the station is just used as a shopping area as part of the whole main station complex, with all railway functions moved to other areas of the station. Right, after that little detour, now it's time to head into the modern day building. In many ways, I do think this station is a bit of a confusing mess, as it's spread across a few different levels in different buildings that's kinda just been patched together. I don't know, it just feels a little less complete and harder to navigate than the stations in Stockholm, Helsinki and Copenhagen. But apart from that, the station is a pleasant place to wait for your train. There are loads of shops, food outlets and convenience stores, and seating can be found sprinkled throughout the entire station. A huge departure board is in the middle of the station, making it very easy to find your train and departure track. Oslo Central Station is split into two separate parts. One part of the station, which is also the newer, is connected to the Oslo Tunnel that cuts right under the city center, allowing trains to operate through the city, east to west. This part of the station is used by many different commuter rail lines, as well as some long-distance services and the Flytoget Airport Express. However, our train will be departing from the smaller dead-end terminal, with platforms facing towards the east. And around 20 minutes before departure, our train appears in the distance and pulls into the platform after having spent the night in a nearby depot. This is a SJ3000 or X55 train, part of Bombardier's Regina family and capable of 200 km an hour. Introduced around 2010, it is by no means a new train anymore, but it is still the newest high-speed train in Swedish national operator SJ's fleet. Boarding the train was extremely chaotic, as the train was almost fully booked and many people were traveling with lots of large suitcases. I ended up boarding the train a couple minutes later, where a member of staff also appeared to hand out sweet treats to passengers. What a nice touch. The luggage situation on this service was so bad that passengers started stacking luggage in the first-class toilet, which then had to be locked out of use for the whole journey. And I do see why, as the luggage racks were pretty much already full before we departed. Anyway, here's my assigned first-class seat for the next just under 6 hours as we head over to Stockholm. A couple moments later, we start moving from Oslo Central Station, running just a few minutes behind schedule. And as we navigate our way out of the large station and head for the line towards Lillestrøm and eventually Sweden, I think it's about time we take a look at the route map for today's journey. We're catching SJ Snabbtog or High-Speed Train 638. This service leaves from Oslo Central Station and routes via Kongsvinger, Karlstad, Katrineholm, covering the distance of 567 km to Stockholm in 5 hours and 27 minutes. This gives the train an average speed of 95 km per hour. And as you might have noticed from the route map, this train is far from fast. The route is very indirect, especially the first half of the route up towards the border with Sweden and onto Karlstad. The route also features just a single track for most of the first 4 hours of the journey, meaning we often have to slow down, come to a complete stop, and wait a couple of minutes to let a train going in the other direction pass. Such as here in Ornäs, where we have to wait for the oncoming morning intercity service from Stockholm to pass us. And as we get going again, we will soon make our last stop in Norway. We are now approaching Kongsvinger, where unfortunately for a bit I had accidentally switched my camera to 25 frames per second. But don't worry, we'll be back to the usual frame rate in just a moment. After Kongsvinger, we will make our way down towards the border with Sweden, but before we get there, I chose to have my pre-ordered meals served. This is exclusive to first class and must be pre-booked on the SJ website before departure. In my experience, the quality of these is actually pretty good. Today the meal was a chicken dish with mustard potatoes, a reindeer mayo salad and some apple cake. All of it was delicious, and including the drink it set me back about 13 euros. And also take a look at the cute little SJ logos on the metal cutlery, what a nice touch. And don't worry if you haven't pre-booked any food, there's also a bistro on board which we'll go check out later in the video. And in first class, passengers get access to a self-service area with complimentary tea, coffee, water, fruit and small sweets. And with coffee acquired, we're just about to cross the border into Sweden, uneventfully here at this small level crossing. And shortly after our first stop in Sweden, Arvika, I realized I had put the wrong settings on my camera, and we can now resume with 60 frames per second all the way to Stockholm. And one thing I noticed not long after we crossed the border is that the train was significantly more smooth on the Swedish side. The train was shaking all over the place after Kongsvinger, but now here in Sweden the track quality seems a lot better. And upgrade works are definitely taking place along this line, as here in Karlstad the whole station is under massive reconstruction. It's also one of our largest stops en route, with many passengers joining or leaving the train here. From here on, the train journey gradually gets faster, with more straight sections of track, and some of it even allowing for 200 km an hour. The next station is Kristinehamn, home to one of Sweden's most interesting train companies, Tågab. They operate everything from tendered commuter rail services to seemingly random once-weekly long-distance trains, and even some freight ones. They've also recently painted 2 of their locomotives in an Amtrak livery and another one in a classic ÖBB orange livery. Unfortunately, I didn't catch any of them here in Kristinehamn today, but they definitely seem like a funky train company. Right, we are now roughly halfway through our journey, so I think it's about time we take a look at the seats. The first thing you'll notice is that the seats in first class are in a slightly unusual 2+2 layout. The Regina family of trains are exceptionally wide, so the seats are still very spacious, but the lack of solo seats are a disappointment for a solo traveler like myself. The seats feature good ergonomic design and are well padded throughout the base, the back and the headrest. Every seat gets 2 individual armrests. These are also nicely padded. A reading light can be found between the 2 headrests, and below the seats is where you'll find the power outlets. There's one for every seat in first class. A solid amount of recline is also offered, making for a really relaxing journey. The seat in front contains a small net for personal items, and a Scandinavian style bin, which is just a plastic bag. You'll also find a coat hook, as well as a large tray table. It was fairly sturdy, and also featured a device holder, although my phone was slightly too big for it. Overall, I found the seats to be comfortable and spacious, but the lack of solo seats is definitely a drawback. We are hastily making our way towards Stockholm, and after another brief stop, we are now taking a sharp 90-ish degree turn to join the Western Main Line, This is perhaps Sweden's most important railway line, connecting Stockholm with the second largest city, Gothenburg. From here on, our train can really pick up the pace, as this line allows for at least 160 km an hour most of the way to Stockholm, and it's all double track. We make a brief stop in Karlstad, home to one of Sweden's largest freight train yards, and continue our journey towards the capital. And with just over an hour left to go in our journey, let's have a look around the rest of the train. SJ's long distance trains generally feature a nice wooden interior, which I find very stylish. And as I mentioned earlier, the toilet was locked out of use because it was being used for luggage storage. Luckily, the other toilet was still functional, so let's check that out. The toilet was definitely looking a bit like you'd expect towards the end of a long journey, but everything was still well stocked and functional. Paper towels were provided, and there was also still plenty of toilet paper left. Fully functional and mostly clean, so no complaints from here. Continuing down, we get to the main first class portion of the train. Located here, you'll find the complimentary first class catering area, which is all self-service. I really like the onboard atmosphere on board these trains. It's pleasant, and I find the wood paneling makes it very cozy. In the next carriage, you'll find the train's second class quiet zone. As you can see, the seats are largely identical. There's only a few very minor differences, like a little less legroom, and the armrest in the middle being made of wood and shared between both seats. Throughout the train there is plenty of luggage racks, but on busy trains like this you might struggle to find space. After passing through most of second class, we get to carriage number 3, which is where you'll find the train's onboard bistro. Here you'll find a large selection of ready-made meals, as well as plenty of drinks and other snacks. And for any of the hot ready-made meals, you can reheat them in the train's microwave ovens. And there's also a hot drinks machine. But the most interesting part about this train is the accessible area. Because while the train is high floor throughout, one entrance door has specifically been lowered to allow for step-free access, and then inside the train a lift has been built into the floor, raising and turning it to allow wheelchairs to roll into the high floor accessible area. This is definitely a rather unique thing about the Regina family of trains. Right, back here at my seat. We are now joining up with the Southern Main Line from Malmö here at Katrineholm, and we are almost at the end of our journey. But there's still a few more things left to mention, such as the train is equipped with free Wi-Fi, which worked surprisingly well even in the middle of a forest. And after a brief stop at Södertälje Syd, we are now on the home stretch to Stockholm, so let's talk about tickets. Prices on this route vary based on demand. They can go for as little as 365 Swedish kronor in second class and 815 in first class, but these prices raise considerably much closer to departure. I personally probably wouldn't pay for first class again on this particular train model unless the difference was less than 2 coffees from the bistro.
For those of you that are sitting here in the first class, there are a few baggage in the first class toilet. Can you please come and pick them up?
And just like that, we are now in the heart of Stockholm, where I do have to wonder how often the guard has had to make an announcement like that. Our train pulls into Stockholm Central Station at 17:17, running about 4 minutes behind schedule, after what's been a comfortable journey with SJ. I still prefer the iconic X2000 trains, especially in first class, but let me know what you think about the SJ3000 in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, as I try to post a new one every Sunday. You can also follow me over on Blue Sky at intercitysimon.com. I usually post live from my travels over there in real time, so it's a great place to get a sneak peek of what videos might be coming on the channel in the future. Thanks for watching.